Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of How to Harad, and this one opens up with a civil revolt, not unexpected, in Lond-Dare. This is a settlement we took kind of just for kicks on the way through, and it lasted us for a few turns basically. So we have just lost this to the rebels. No great surprise. We've got a few peasants at arms here that we had acquired. So I guess we may as well move them towards the east as well, join up with our other army, but we can see that Dunland is already moving in for the kill. That's fine for them, I suppose. They can certainly have it. Much more importantly, though, we have our two fleets also approaching landfall, and so we can set them up to get going on the march. Right here, we'll get them right north of Dunland. And again, in this army, we've got mostly skirmishers. This is kind of a bunch of stuff I scraped together, just basically to have more bodies to throw at Rohan, as well as to have some garrison force. And another family member to recruit mercenaries, I suppose. So let's just get him marching, and we'll get them together. I don't think we should be troubled by Dunland on the way through. So far, we haven't been. They are still our allies. We do not have military access with them, but that's been just fine. And we do have the option now to bring this main army into the east. So let's do a little bit of scouting here. Okay, we don't have any forces contesting the bridge at the moment. Rohan does have the outpost of Dolbaran. That's actually kind of okay. I'm almost tempted to let them have that, but what we'll do is we'll march right next to it. And then in the next couple of seasons, we'll gradually move through the zone of control. That'll actually allow our other armies to get cut up as well, which is actually totally fine. And then we will be able to move into Rohan's territory, hopefully relatively unmolested. And the Reunited Kingdom have apparently found themselves with enough clout to threaten us here. Accept or we will attack. Give us 49,530 million. Well, we could certainly afford it, but we're going to decline. Now, it's an interesting offer in a sense, because it means that potentially the AI is thinking about attacking, but they know that we have a ton of money, and so they're more interested in that. I'm not sure exactly where they would attack. They could certainly try a naval assault somewhere along my coasts, but I think we'll risk it. And they certainly did not attack us, actually, so everything's looking fine. We do have some ships in the area, though, so let's go ahead and deal with their fleets here and keep our armies moving into the east. Now, the problem with what we're seeing here is there's a bit of a visual lie going on at the moment. It looks as though we could march right over here unmolested, but see the zone of control that appears around these armies. A similar one is going to extend around this settlement, but because we can't see the settlement yet, that's not going to show up. That means, unfortunately, what we'll have to do is walk around to the north. So sometimes you do get those kind of visual bugs, I guess you could say, or just visual inconsistencies. And you do have to watch out for it if you just let the AI sort of choose your target or your path for you. But one thing that I feel a lot better about is the fact that we've finally invested in walls at Harlorn, meaning that this cannot be taken by a sudden assault. They'll at least need to take a turn, put it under siege, and then assault. So we have a bit more security around here. But it does have to be said, we've done a quite good job at choking off the Reunited Kingdom. Haven't seen a lot of their fleets active for some years. Of course, I say that, and now we're under attack, but this shouldn't be too much of a problem. They're basically attacking our blockade outside of Pelargir. There are no armies on these fleets. These are the smallest Numeramar. Now, they do have some decent upgrades, armor as well as attack bonuses, and it does look fairly balanced, but we did get a clear victory there, so the blockade will be maintained. Well, with the rest of the armies approaching the outpost of Dolbaran, it looks like Rohan has finally gathered a token force to sort of contest our progress. We'll just go ahead and smack this army away. They should retreat, and they are going to stay in place. So we're going to fight a minor skirmish here. I'm not even going to show it. Just a few infantry units, and we'll continue when this battle is over. So yes, a clear victory there. The enemy army routed into the hills. Very basic stuff in terms of strategy. Just surround them with skirmishers, essentially, and they fled. Now, this is interesting because of what it opens up to us. We have the option now of placing a couple of settlements under siege, and in fact, even of taking the Hornburg itself. So we could try for that right now. We could attack this army and see if the Hornburg would appear as the garrison as reinforcements. I'm not sure, honestly, that I want to do that, though. It feels a little anticlimactic, and here's why. Many of you players of the mod may not even be aware that this settlement, Helm's Deep, does have a unique and lore-accurate battle map model. If you have not played in this area, if you've not played as Rohan or Dunland, then you may never have seen this on the campaign map. So I'd love to show it in action, as it were, and that would involve storming the settlement. So I think instead what I'm going to do is fall right back here to the bridge, and this does actually have a little bit of a benefit. This army that I currently am commanding is full of spears, and I think this would stand a pretty good odds of actually beating a cav-heavy Rohan army at a choke point like a bridge or a ford crossing. And so we'll get back there, we'll wait for this army to leave or potentially gather with some other forces and try to attack us at the bridge. We've got the outpost of Dolborand under siege, and then we'll bring these other forces up once that siege resolves itself, or once we decide that it's time to move inland a little bit. Oh, and we've got a sad announcement here. The king has departed Middle-earth, Fuinir of Central Haradwaith. He was only our second king, and he was governing in Carenbad for, I think, the entirety of his reign. I believe the only military action he undertook was maybe a small campaign down in Adabara to take it from Far Harad, but then he went back up here to take up his governorship and basically to live out his life. Now, he had a fairly lengthy reign, and his reign saw the addition of 2 protectorate factions, which we still have. Let's take a look at those here. We still have, yes, Far Harad and Khan, so they're both under our sway at the moment, and that was under his reign. So we've got a new king at the moment, Merwan of Karas Nan. Let's take a look where he is, and he's governing Karas Nan. Okay, fair enough. Close to the old heartland of the Umbar region, so that's good. He's an adept governor. His authority's not terribly inspiring at the moment. We'll see if that goes up. Let's see. He's lazy, unintelligent, but charismatic. He is somewhat learned. He is a political animal, so this could be good. Increase public order, as well as this may have some other knock-on effects in terms of his authority and so on. So we'll keep things like that for the moment. I am curious what the family tree looks like. He was not a direct descendant. Well, let's see. Yes, he was actually. He's the younger brother of the previous ruler. So they're definitely maintaining the line of the, the House of the Black Serpent, probably. Yes, indeed. One of the city dweller subcultures of Harad. Now, that makes sense. Apparently, these guys are slow to have kids. We've taken on probably a lot of adoptees. Or actually, probably what it is we've got other family groups that have a lot of family members as well. So this house, it's a little bit of a problem because this new emperor is already seasoned, so he probably doesn't have too much time left in his reign. And I think some of these guys, well, we'll see. How old is he? He is mature, so he's got a little bit more life in him, but he's not of the same house or even subculture as the others. So while he's married to the daughter of someone of the royal house, he is not of that group himself. That'll make it hard for him to inspire his other family members if he should take the reins. So we'll just have to sort of keep an eye on it. I sort of like just every now and then checking in with the politics of the mod. Okay, we've got Tharbad and Harondor making an alliance. That's potentially a problem for me, although Tharbad does not own any land anywhere near us, and they don't have Lant Dare. Now, are we at war with them? No, we're neutral with them, so okay, fair enough. We could, if we wanted to make absolutely sure, I guess we could start a war with them just to get Harondor back unquestionably on our side, but that may not be necessary here. The other thing that may not be necessary is us waiting for Rohan to get its stuff together to decide to attack us, because it seems like they're taking their sweet time. So we'll just move along here, and we'll just kind of move more threateningly into their territory. And they're still not even willing to wait. Okay, so here's what we can do now. We attack this army, and this one will show up as reinforcements. Yes, so now the garrison of the Hornburg will not be part of this army. So this is a chance for us to wipe out these two armies and then put the Hornburg under siege. Let's see what these are. Okay, pretty basic stuff. Rohan Riders is the tier 2 spear throwing cavalry unit. A couple of axemen. In this army, oh, they've got some interesting stuff, I guess. A couple of Helmingas, which is probably what they're training in the Hornburg. And some Rittermark spears. This will be a weird fight. I guess we can show it. So off to our right, we can see the road that is going down into that cleft of the White Mountains. That in the distance is roughly where the Hornburg is going to be. And off in the distance under those trees, you can see the Helmingas and the Rittermark spear reinforcements coming up here through the forest to join the main defending force, which is really just some outriders, I guess, some axemen. And so we'll close with them, and probably they'll be a little bit behind. It's worth noting we have absolutely no archers in this army. We have lots of skirmishers, or a fair amount. We've got a couple of swordsmen, but mostly we have spears. We've got a ton of these spears of the serpent, and not even very much cav. So this is not necessarily a terribly balanced army, but it's kind of good for going against a lot of riders. Of course, we're not facing a lot of riders here. We're facing exactly 2 cavalry units for Rohan, but I think we'll still do okay. We do have the Harad Armsmen, and I believe this is the first time we've seen them in a fight. So a very cool unit. They will probably get some action here because we've got a lot of infantry to deal with. But it looks like the Rittermark spears are marching up along our right. We want to get our spearmen ready to go. They're going to charge into our plainsmen skirmishers, but that's what they're there for. Are there skirmishers doing some decent damage to those Rohan riders? And let's see how this is going to go. Obviously, those skirmishers are taking a lot of damage. Actually, no, they're not. They've still got 71 men. So we did a fair amount to those Rittermark spears. That actually worked out surprisingly well. In fact, let's follow that up. Let's bring our spearmen forward. These guys are not getting good charges. And they're routing. Alright, we want to save some javelins for the Helmingas. So let's pull the spearmen back here. Let's get the swordsmen over in this direction. We do have some swords and corsairs that are going to be useful. But we want to spend a lot of our a lot of the missiles on those tough units. And we do have this ranged missile unit too. Now I think we can deal with this remnant of Rohan riders with our much larger unit of Harad riders. Shouldn't be too difficult. Alright, let's do the Harad Armsmen into the Helmingas. We're getting some javelins cast in here to this one unit. 50 men still. They're probably going to do very well against us. Oh, but this unit is going to be fleeing very soon. We've got swords throwing their javelins. Still got some skirmishers with ammunition left. They're being very indecisive here. Let's send in the corsairs who are to our armsmen, who are not doing too badly, but they're not making great gains. They're sort of just holding their own. Helmingas are losing, but they've only lost about 9 men. And this is going to change once the corsairs hit him in the back. Actually, they just turned around and took it, so did not do too badly. These Helmingas are doing great. Alright, let's send the swords around here. We've got our cavalry chasing them down. We've taken maybe a couple of losses against their javelins with those Rohan riders, but not too big of a deal. Bring our other cavalry around, and I think we're going to be in a pretty good position to get these enemy swordsmen and axemen to rout pretty soon. Helmingas are wavering now at 32 men. The Harad Armsmen have lost, about 10 or so, I think, in total. Let's send the javelin men down that way. The plainsman mounted skirmishers. And we'll charge into these axes of the mark. Yeah, the pressure of the Serpent Black coming around your flank with all of the other units that are routing is just not something a lot of units are going to be able to take, even some of these elite troops. And here we're going to catch up with the Rohan riders. I think we're going to do pretty well against them. Of course, this is definitely Rohan territory. This is Rohan itself. So we're not getting our desert bonuses or anything like that. But we're still doing fairly well. There's the end of that captain and basically the end of this army. And in fact, that is all of it. We now have a clear road to the Hornburg. We can go and put it under siege immediately. Unfortunately, we have our armies still tied up by the zone of control exerted by the outpost of Dol Baran. Next turn, we'll be able to move this army down here. So because of that, I'm not quite sure if I want to put Hornburg under siege. If I do, what's going to happen is this army may attack me right in the back. Now, this has got some, some decent units, but really I'm more concerned about losing the option of assaulting the Hornburg itself. I really want to have that battle be the thing that we see. So I'll just keep my force right here. They won't be able to move around me. I don't believe at any rate. Let's see if we can get there. Actually, we can't see. Oh, I kicked them away. They have no movement points. That's why we're not showing any movement points for them. So probably we won't be attacked this turn, but they will not be able to get back to the Hornburg. Unless there's another army in the area, we should be free next turn to really go for the Hornburg in terms of a siege. We're getting tested again at Pelargir. It looks like we're going to lose this one. They've got several of these highly teched up Numeramars, and so we are not going to be able to hold on. But fortunately, they don't have any men in those boats. Now, where's this happening? Okay, this is right down near Lond New Elanath. Again, no men on those ships, but we are suffering defeats. All right, this is a city dweller of a minor house. I'm going to just say no to him. And we do have some of our fleets that are ready to come back after dropping off troops in Rohan. So we'll just keep moving them back in this region. But let's take a look up north where we are seeing, yeah, basically the same type of situation. So finally we can move this army out of the outpost of Dol Baran. I'm going to move them, well, you know what, I guess we got to swat this army away first. We can use this army to put the Hornburg under siege. We're going to build a couple of siege towers. We'll build a ram or two. And can we afford another siege tower? No. So we're going to go with, I guess, another ladder. Something like that should be plenty. And this army, what we're going to do is set it up just back like here, with the idea of preventing these armies from attacking us. I don't want to have to fight in the field. I want to assault the Hornburg. And we do get a desultory sally out of the outpost of Dol Baran. I'm just going to auto-resolve this. They've got 100 men inside. Kind of an odd force, some Rittermark bowmen. But because we're going to be reinforced by this large army, there's not really a lot of point fighting this out. We did lose a few men from our larger force. Really not too bad of a deal. And we got the outpost of Dol Baran. I'm going to go ahead and occupy this. Okay, we are getting attacked now. Okay. I think we will fight this battle. So this is going to be basically to allow us to continue the siege of the Hornburg, or to assault basically unmolested. Fortunately, they're not attacking the besieging army. They're attacking Obiajulu of Lokand with a very, very interesting army. We'll see how effective this is. No spearmen, unless you count these Parchereb tribesmen who do have spears, but basically a very, very archer-heavy army. A lot of these are cavalry archers. A bunch of them, though, are the footmen, and even a lot of our normal infantry guys can throw javelins. So we'll see how this battle goes. So we've set up here in the corner, essentially, to our back, sort of. Down to the south here is the cleft of Helm's Deep, and we've got our archers out in the front in a fairly thick or deep formation. Behind them, we've got swords of Harad. We've got sort of our melee infantry, including our mercenary dragon shield riders. All of these are horse archers towards the back, as well as the nimbler horse archers towards the front. And yeah, this looks pretty reasonable. Let's bring our guys up here. Oh wait, no, actually, okay. the main army is coming from here. So we still will want to grab that little bit of high ground, but this is going to be the main event for sure. Let's take a look at what they've got. And we can kind of tell here. These are some guards of the king's house, I think. Something along those lines. They've got some axemen. They've got some levies of Rohan. And then we've got some, let's see, these are some of the good horse archers. Over here, I can tell these are Rittermark spears with the two-handed spears. Behind them looks like Riders of the Mark. Yeah, pretty decent cav. These look like the tier 2 light, not light, but medium cav with the javelins. And then over on the right, they've got some lighter horse archers as well as Riders of the Mark here. This army is, of course, much smaller. Not going to worry too much about that. I'll bring my horse archers around, though. We'll start to do some damage to them. Although I think the Partreb tribesmen are going to basically destroy this first group. We will get our other cavalry up here, and then we'll just kind of fall back, and this will become kind of a mess. I think we're going to push them to attack pretty quickly, though. So we'll get them all involved in melee, and then we'll be able to turn everybody around. It's at least the plan. Riders of the Mark do not have any ranged capability, but they are more than a match for pretty much all of the cavalry that we've brought, I think. Our hope here is basically to, well, to get them to rout quick. So we've got a lot of archers for that. I don't think the archers are going to be too much help here because the cav can just run right over us. So we will have to hope that the swords of Harad can hold off those melee cav. We'll flank with the spears. Partreb tribesmen will be pulling out their secondary weapon. And here we caught the Riders of the Mark and actually insta-routed them. That's fantastic and unexpected. Okay, we'll take it. Let's just halt everybody here. Wow, not expecting that. But Riders of the Mark, of course, a very, very good unit. But I think the issue there is when they're not commanded by a family member, they're just not going to be that effective. Let's bring our heavy cav around here. And I'll keep the light horse archers over on the left wing to face those Rittermark scouts, which are the light horse archers as well. Looks like they're moving some of the heavier horse archers over. Honestly, their horse archers can kill all my horse archers as long as we beat this much more threatening element of their army. Alright, we can maybe bait these Rittermark spears, and they don't have shields, so we'll see. Well, bait. We'll just see how this turns out. Okay, they're going to get into melee and rout on my spears. Amazing stuff here. I'm not sure exactly who I can give credit to for this performance. Is it the Partreb tribesmen themselves? Let's see. Now they're taking a ton of losses, but they get their spears out really quickly. Riders of the Mark are doing really well, though. They are standing up to that like champs. So it's going to be a bit of a problem. And yeah, the Partreb tribesmen do rout once they start to come under a lot of pressure here. But let's get the support in. I think we're going to be okay. This is a little concerning over here. Everywhere else, I think we've got them swarmed, and we're doing fine. All right, Partreb tribesmen came back over there. Rittermark spears winning, and there's enough of them here. There's enough mass that they're just going to do quite well. Although here we've certainly seized the advantage. Let's bring the Partreb men over there, and it looks like we've done okay over on this end. Everybody seems to be routing. Over here, this right is holding out the longest. Axes of the Mark. Okay, there they go. Here we've got the guards of the king's house doing very, very well indeed, but they're going to be routing very soon. Let's see if we can bring the general in to do the killing blow there. And that is indeed it. We do have a lot of morale damaging units, but they're not necessarily... Oh, they do frighten the nearby enemy. Okay, so it's the mercenary Dragon Shield Riders, and it's the Serpent Black that's causing the routing. I forgot that they were not only frightening to infantry troops, they're frightening to cav as well. So that explains the performance there. We would not have done nearly as well without those fear-causing units, because as we've seen, Rohan has some excellent stuff. But that was good enough to clear out the attempt at reinforcing the Hornburg. And with the relative lack of other forces in the area, we are more than free now to assault it. So let's get right into that. And yes, here we are at the walls of the Hornburg. Let's get our men in motion and we'll check out this unique custom designed settlement by Weba84. So we've got the ramp here that leads right up to the gate. This is, and I'm forgetting my terminology for all of the different parts of this fortress here, but this takes us up to the main citadel, essentially. This is the plaza that we will need to control in order to get the settlement. And up here, it looks like it's being defended by some riders of the Mark. So that's a solid cavalry unit. Obviously, they're not at their best in a sort of a siege type situation. But we will be up against it, and of course, just the level of this the ramp here, the fact that we've got the gates firing down on us with those ballistas is going to make this more challenging, which is why I like to have a couple of rams when I'm assaulting this settlement. Over here, though, we have the deeping wall, if I remember correctly, and we've got room for, I think, 3 locations for us to bring ladders or siege towers to bear. And this wall does stretch from, well, from the outcropping of rock here all the way over to this end. You cannot go from the wall straight up here, so you can't send men directly up here. They have to go the long way around, and there is a path at the back. You can see the general here, in fact, taking it at the moment, and this is a long, tiring route all the way up above the lower part of this town and through this opening into the main area. So it's a very, very good settlement to defend. It's relatively small, and so that means that if you can move in quickly as the attacker, or relatively quickly, you stand a pretty good chance of not having your men too wiped out. So it's not like some of these gigantic custom settlements that we have in the mod, like minus Ithil or minus Honor, where you really have to kind of race if you want to make it before the timer runs out. With Helm's Deep, you do have a bit of that luxury of time. Somewhat. We'll see how this goes, because facing us, we don't have a whole lot. There's these 47 Riders of the Mark here. We've got some Levies of Rohan. These are just the basic spearmen. But we've got Riders of the King's House, 39 of them. I think this is the Prince, or the King even of Rohan. I neglected to check beforehand. And then I think we've got another Riders of the Mark unit somewhere that I'm just not seeing. So we've got kind of our work cut out for us. And fortunately, it looks like the AI is not going to contest the lower part. Oftentimes, in my experience, you will see them go up to the Citadel. But on the other hand, that just means we will have to fight them when we're exhausted, and they can very easily plug these gaps. There's only these 2 points of accessibility. Now, I sent up, in terms of strategy, sent up my Plainsman skirmishers. I figured these guys are the most expendable. They don't have shields, and you know, they're going to be under a lot of fire, but we just need to get rams up there, and then we can send the real fighters up. And so we'll probably send these Spearmen of the Serpent. We've got a few units of them back here. We've got some swords as well, swords of Harad. We've got some Harandor armsmen and some Corsairs. Not sure that these Corsairs are going to see any use. Not sure about the Harandor armsmen either. We may focus on Spearmen of the Serpent because we've got a lot of cav to deal with. And speaking of those Spearmen of the Serpent, we are seeing some of these guys start to take the wall. So we'll rush over quickly and capture the tower there. The layout of this settlement is very interesting. You can see that this settlement is sort of expanding beyond the walls. And, you know, there's some kind of like lore reasons for that, right? We figured, or I should say Weba figured, he basically designed this all, sort of figured that after the War of the Ring, you would start to see this slight expansion of the settlement. People were no longer using it strictly as a refuge. It would grow into a settlement in its own right. You'd start to have farms outside the walls and these other structures, like you've got a market here, for example. And then inside, very nice little touch here, the Gates of Aglarond. Sort of a nod. If you played the previous versions of the mod, I think the relevant one would be the New Shadow. Aglarond appeared as a separate settlement from Helm's Deep, or from the Hornburg, and it was a sort of a a dwarven settlement, so to speak. It was, I believe it was sort of an underground settlement, or that was the idea for it. That's how it appeared on the campaign map, at any rate. And so you can see the dwarven architecture there, essentially. Remember, this is the 4th Age, so it's after Gimli and his dwarves have moved in and sort of renovated the old place. But they're no longer there. But we imagined, of course, that their elements of their architecture would still be around. All right, since we have opened up the gate, I think we need to try to capture these walls. Let's see if we have any chance of running our skirmishers up there. I'm not sure that we do, but really this is more of a feint than anything. They're going to get caught. They're going to run away. Let's send a couple of units of Spearmen of the Serpent up there. I imagine we're going to get into a bit of trouble, but if we can capture these gateways before we get caught, and it looks like we are. Oh, there we go. We did it. We captured the gateway, and that's going to make things a lot easier for us. I don't know that we're going to keep it. We'll see if the AI is going to try to recapture it, but we can prevent our own men from taking a ton of fire now. So very happy about that. All right, let's send the Spearmen up then. All right, our Spearmen have made it up essentially untouched thanks to the heroic work of our skirmishers who have been basically destroyed here. But that means we can now get our men into position, and we're facing a bit of resistance over here. Riders of the Mark, Riders of the King's House are coming around to guard this element. We've got Spearmen moving in from all sides, though, so let's rush these guys in and take up a defensive position just in front of the gate, and that'll allow us to bring up our other units, like our swords. And maybe we can even bring the general up here to help encourage the men. You can see our Spearmen of the Serpent, though, are tired already. They've basically done a lot of marching. Riders of the King's House are coming. They're winded, but I think they're going to still do a lot better than us here. We are at least going to tie them up, and that'll prevent them from fighting against these Spearmen. So maybe instead we will want to move into the plaza sooner. Oh, wait, that was... No, that's Riders of the Mark, not Riders of the King's House. All right, we do have our work cut out for us here. All right, Spearmen moving in. We are being supported because these gateways do have a pretty decent firing range. You can see there we've actually managed to destroy a lot of their levies of Rohan just due to the arrow fire. That's not working against these Riders of the Mark, however. And so a lot of this is going to come down to melee. Let's see, we're still holding our own down here against the Riders of the Mark on this wing. We've got a couple more units of Spearmen to throw in. These guys now are utterly tired, however. Riders of the Mark winning despite being really strongly outnumbered. And we are being pushed back by the Riders of the King's House. 31 men left. I think they've lost 6 or 7 in total. And so we are, you know, killing them a little bit, but it's just, it's not going very quickly. And we're down, let's see, we've got 69 men in one unit and 50 in another. We're shaken. So let's bring our swords up. We can lend our javelins against some of these other units. And we'll bring the bodyguard up as well. Mundhir the Hunter. Let's see if he can pull this off. These Riders of the Mark on the back wall are starting to get tired, utterly tired. They are winning easily, down to 20 men. I think we're going to eventually push through here. Just the numbers are going to do wonders for us eventually. We can see that the morale is still high. Our men are still eager despite their exhaustion. And we do even have some more swordsmen coming eventually. Oh, they're turning around. It looks like they're running back to defend the plaza. Okay, let's go slow. We'll just keep marching up the hill. We'll get there when we get there. Okay, so what we could do at this point, we could throw our javelins in to the back, and I think I'm going to do that. We'll give them a cast. We'll charge in. And yeah, look, our swords, our spearmen are just completely routed. So actually, let's halt. We'll get another throw. 10 men remaining. That's quite a lot. I mean, for swords, so I think we need to bring in our cav. I've been bringing swordsmen up here, but let's rush our cav up as well. This is not the best cav, but it will get quickly into position. And those javelins actually did a fantastic job. Down to just 3, just 2. All right, let's bring our general up a little bit closer. We want to be careful because we're now at the point where we're really going to risk some fire from the gateway there. And there he goes, just one man. Routing and down. Excellent. No more spearmen, though. So what we're going to do is let these guys, they're on fire at will. They're going to reform. They're going to throw against these Riders of the Mark. That's going to pull some of them outside of the plaza. And that's what we want to do. This big unit here will wait until the spearmen arrive. And they've got some decent numbers. Let's get the general back a little bit. All right, we still got a few javelins. Oh, here they come. Okay, Riders of the Mark are charging into the general. And they're going to do some damage there. All right, let's bring everybody in here. We need desperately to reverse this. All right, down to 40 men. That's still a lot. And I'm a little concerned about the Serpent Black here. Spearmen of the Serpent charging in. These must have been the remnants from the force that was left before. Okay, we'll charge in with those spears. No time to just sit around, guys. We've got to get you in here before the general gets killed. He's down to 7 men. Where is he? Okay, he's in the thick of it here. Right at the foot of the wall. 31 men. I don't really like the odds, but we've got spearmen charging in, and they're outside of the plaza. Their general is dead, down to 28. Shaken. We may get them to rout here. Looks like they do have a Riders of the Mark unit inside the plaza, so that's not going to be an auto win if these guys rout, but that's okay. If we can push them back, we'll be in a very strong position indeed. 18 broken. Awesome. All right. We're going after the last Riders of the Mark unit here with our Spearmen of the Serpent. And we've done it. We've captured the plaza. We've just got this one fleeing unit here, probably going to die on the way back out. And that's the end of it. We've captured the Hornburg as the Empire of Harad. Excellent, excellent news. The question is, can we hold it? Yeah, it's not looking great. We've got a red face here. We've captured the Wonder. Let's go ahead and yeah, I think we need to lay desolate. Okay, great news. That's a blue face. We can hold it. We can bring it down to low taxes, and we've got the Hornburg. So let's talk about the settlement a little bit in terms of our overall strategy. The great thing about this is that it guards the only passage over the Eisen. So this province here, the Westfold, basically blocks off everything to the west of it. That means that if Rohan wants to attack Dunland or to attack the outpost of Dol Baran, they're going to first need to take the Hornburg back, and we can expect them to attempt that indeed. I'm not quite sure how far they've advanced in the east, but I don't think it's very far. So we've done a really quite a number on their military capability here. They still have Edoras, which can train, as we know, excellent, fearsome, awful things. They also have Aldburg, which tends to be a pretty good settlement. I can see here by the Rittermark spears that they've probably got a high-level stables in there as well. And maybe another settlement over, in the Wold somewhere is pretty decent. They've also got Calenhad for sure, and maybe something else in the east. But Hornburg is really important to them, in part financially, but just in part for that military purpose. As we can see, they've gone up to the Marshal's Muster Hall, which is a very high level of military development, and it's going to make us 5,000 Mirian for destroying it. We'll also get rid of these King's Feasts, which is, again, a very high-level building. They've got mines for us already, which is wonderful. Of course, we've got the walls here, the Keep of the Hornburg, and then let's see if there's anything else we might want to get rid of. Yeah, Gondorian Metalsmiths. Okay, so this is a specialization building for Rohan, and they have, let's see, workshops, foundries, and living quarters. So this is basically an armor improving building. Yeah, it's good that we took that away from them. The Hall of Song we will keep. We can train rogues out of here. Horse farms are, of course, good for economy, and I think this is the only industry we can train here. Actually, no, we could get rid of this and go for jewels or silver or something instead. Let's keep it for now, though. It is making us a bit of cash. And if we wanted to, we could start training some military stuff, or agents, rather. Let's go ahead. We've got a lot of spies, but I feel like we can always use them. So we'll go ahead and train another one, and then we'll take a look at the wonder that is captured. This is the Glittering Caves, and that's rather loud, so I'll just close that out. But because of that wonder, we have helped our sort of public order. Basically kingdom-wide here. We're seeing that bonus of 20% due to the capture of a wonder. That will go away, but it is nice to have when you can have it. And we've neglected to lower the taxes there. So we have essentially bisected the armies of Rohan from one another. They still have the Eisenmarks that they took back from us, but that's okay. I don't know that they have a lot in there. And the actually wonderful thing about this is I would rather have Rohan have this settlement than have the Reunited Kingdom have it. Because as we know, Rohan only has this settlement to our west. So they can't train, like, they don't have any depth, right? Whereas if the Reunited Kingdom had this, then who knows what would be coming up through this territory. It could be just massive forces that they had assembled, down around here, and marched all the way around the White Mountains. But here, anything that comes up from our west to trouble us from Rohan is going to be really minor stuff, or it's going to take them a long time to assemble it anyway, and we can kind of keep our eye on things. Maybe at some point we'll take this back. It's nice to have a chief city, but I think I'll worry about that once we have dealt more with the Reunited Kingdom proper. For now, we're going to focus on holding the Hornburg. To that end, we actually have a pretty decent mix of forces in the area to do that. We've got a lot of archers who can just park on those walls and fight as spearmen at need. We'll be having to merge some of these guys together because they did take a bit of a beating. We've got swordsmen, we've got spearmen, we've got cav, we've got a good mix all around. And we've got reinforcements here as well with even more archers, scary units, and spearmen and cav. So we've got a decent mix, I think, between these three stacks-ish in the area. We should be able to hold the Hornburg. It may be a lot of siege defenses, but that will be to our benefit, or at least it will not be to Rohan's benefit. And if we see the opportunity, thanks to the wonderful road systems that have been built in Rohan, we can get quickly to just about any place. So if there's, for example, an army right on the bridge here outside of Edoras, we can go and attack it and try to capture the city if we want to. So we can certainly start moving eastward once we've settled things out. I think, though, that this is a good point for us to stop the episode here. I'm very happy with finally making it into Rohan, where I kind of wanted to end up for a little while. And if this happens to be our border for a while with Rohan, if they seem to, if they leave us alone, let us develop it for a while, who knows? I would be happy with that. In the coming episodes, though, we'll have to see how they respond to this, and then we'll also give some thought to the Reunited Kingdom. I think it may be time to really start attending to them. But that'll be for the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me in this one, and I hope you'll stick around. Until then, take care.